A solitary billionaire finds himself face to face with a little girl and two other children at his doorstep, an unexpected encounter that changes everything. The girl implores him for assistance, yet he soon discovers a chilling reality about these children, a reality that would move anyone to tears. The dining room held a stillness akin to the gentle descent of snowflakes beyond the window. Candles danced atop a gleaming mahogany table, illuminating a carefully curated meal that remained untouched by any guest. Adam meticulously arranged his silverware, not out of necessity, but due to his aversion to chaos, even in the tiniest details. From the broad windows, the festive glow of Christmas lights shimmered from far-off houses. The celebration seemed like an unfamiliar dialect, one he had no desire to comprehend or engage with any longer. This was Adam's realm, unblemished, immaculate, and unyielding, much like the man who inhabited it. He raised his wineglass, the crimson liquid swirling gently, when a sudden knock resonated through the hall. It began as a whisper, yet grew more persistent, breaking the silence like a siren's call. Adam hesitated, his eyes flickering to the imposing oak door. Rarely did anyone drop by unannounced, and always with a prior call. The knock echoed once more forceful this time. With a weary exhale, Adam pushed his chair back and made his way to the door. The sharp sound of his footsteps echoed against the marble floor, resonating throughout the vast expanse. As he swung the door open, a chill swept in like an intruder, revealing a girl on the threshold, small, shivering, and as pale as the snowflakes that adorned her tousled hair. "Please," she gasped, her voice trembling with urgency. "They're unwell. Assist them." Adam's gaze fell to the two infants cradled in her arms. Their small faces were flushed and glistening with perspiration. They huddled together in a patchwork of blankets, shivering under the weight of their fever. The girl appeared almost unable to remain upright, her knuckles pale as she held the children tightly to her. He paused, thoughts swirling as he considered the options before him. Unfamiliar faces, unwelcome presence, complications ahead. Yet, the strained wheeze of a single baby's breath brought those thoughts to a halt. "Step in," he said tersely, moving aside. The girl was quick to act. She burst into the foyer, her boots marking the pristine floor with slush. Adam closed the door decisively behind her, turning to confront the disorder she had just introduced. "Place them there," he directed, gesturing toward a polished leather couch. She paused, studying him as if assessing his reliability, before gently placing the babies down. The girl swayed unsteadily, wrapping her arms around herself in a futile attempt to fend off the biting cold that enveloped her. "Sit," Adam commanded, pointing to a chair close by. He was already on the move, vanishing down the hallway, only to reappear moments later with a medical kit and a heavy blanket. He laid the blanket over her, avoiding her gaze. The girl nodded silently, her eyes locked on the twins. "They're burning up," she whispered, almost to herself rather than to him. Adam knelt by the couch, his movements deliberate and calculated. He examined pulses, touched foreheads, and carefully lifted the damp blankets. "Fevers," he stated matter-of-factly, yet there was no rash or visible injury. "How long have they been experiencing this?" I can't say," the girl replied, her voice trembling. "It began yesterday." They kept wailing, and then suddenly fell silent, eerily silent. Adam took a moment before replying. Instead, he took hold of a thermometer, carefully checking each baby's temperature before picking up a stethoscope. His brow knitted together just a touch as he absorbed the sound of their shallow breaths. "They require hydration and relaxation. Their fevers will break once I treat the inflammation." He stood abruptly, his tone sharp. "I'll be back." The girl flinched at his suddenness but chose not to argue. Adam slipped into the kitchen, carefully pouring an electrolyte solution into a small bottle he kept for unexpected situations. Upon his return, he discovered her softly caressing the head of a baby, whispering words that eluded his ears. "Here," he said, extending the bottle. "Administer this to them, slowly, in small sips." Her hands trembled as she accepted it. "Thank you." Adam nodded in acknowledgement, yet remained silent, redirecting his attention to his meticulous observations. He was unfamiliar with this type of engagement, feeling appreciation. It disturbed him. Once he confirmed the twins were stable, Adam shifted his attention to the girl. "They'll be fine for now. You should rest." Her lips trembled, and she fought to hold back her tears. "I can't express my gratitude enough," she whispered. "I didn't know where else to go." "You don't need to thank me," Adam replied, his tone flat and uninviting. "It's basic humanity." Yet, as he gazed at her, frail and weary, a flicker of emotion broke through his cultivated indifference. He dismissed it. This was not about him. It simply couldn't be. "Stay here tonight," he said after a moment of contemplation. "There's a guest room upstairs." For the first time, the girl offered a faint smile. It was a delicate, ephemeral gesture that failed to illuminate her eyes. "Thank you," she murmured once more, before collapsing into the chair, fatigue finally consuming her. Adam averted his eyes, first observing the children, then the girl, and finally returning his focus to the door. The snow fell steadily outside, enveloping the world in a soft hush. Within, a subtle fissure had emerged, just a hint. He was uncertain about what lay ahead, and maybe he preferred it that way. At this moment, he had tasks to complete. The clock in Adam's study ticked steadily, its rhythm resonating through the stillness of the house. The air carried a subtle hint of antiseptic, mingling with the soft, enduring aroma of pine from the Christmas wreath adorning the window. Adam rested against the kitchen counter, his gaze locked on the hallway where Emma had slipped into the guest room. He had sent her upstairs with a heavy heart, hoping she'd remain quiet, yet unsure of how to handle the girl otherwise. In the living room, Lily and Leo were cozily wrapped up on the leather couch. Their small frames, while steady for the moment, were etched with signs of neglect, sunken cheeks, thin limbs, and a faint glow of fatigue. Adam's jaw clenched as he recalled the moment when Emma held them close, her whole form poised as if to protect them from a lurking danger. The scene had unsettled him more than he cared to acknowledge. As Adam settled back onto the couch, he carefully draped the blanket over Leo and slipped a thermometer under his arm. The young one shifted slightly, yet remained in slumber. He noted the temperature, then took hold of Lily's hand. The delicate, quickened heartbeat beneath her fragile skin sent a shiver through him. He had never experienced anything like this before. Worry? He amended his statement. It was a frustration at being forced into this predicament. Ultimately, that was the narrative he crafted for himself. Footsteps echoed on the stairs, cautious yet purposeful. Emma emerged at the foot of the staircase, snugly enveloped in the large sweater he had gifted her. It engulfed her slender figure. Her gaze flitted about the room, pausing on the couch before settling on Adam. "Are they okay?" she inquired, her tone gentle yet laced with concern. Adam stood tall, folding his arms across his chest. "At this moment, their fevers have subsided, yet it is evident that they have suffered from malnutrition." He paused, observing her intently. "When did they last have a proper meal?" Emma's eyes fell to the ground. She shifted restlessly, wrapping her arms around herself. I'm uncertain. I made an effort, I truly gave it my all." Her voice trembled, and Adam sensed a spark of something uncomfortably akin to remorse. He wasn't placing blame on her, at least not overtly, but the gravity of his words had struck deeply. He tempered his tone, yet it retained his signature directness. He emphasized the importance of consistent nutrition for their full recovery. "And so do you indeed." Emma's gaze shot upward. "I'm fine," she replied hastily, almost too hastily. The sharpness in her tone evoked the image of a trapped creature. Adam held back, choosing not to push her, at least for the moment. He motioned toward the kitchen, inviting her to sit and have something to eat. Her uncertainty was evident, yet the pull of hunger and fatigue ultimately prevailed. She made her way to the table, settling on the edge of a chair, her posture rigid. Adam set a bowl of soup before her, accompanied by bread and a glass of water. She regarded the food with a wary glance, as if it were on the verge of being taken from her. "There's no need to protect it," Adam said with a hint of sarcasm. "I don't typically offer something only to retract it later." Emma looked at him, taken aback, then offered a slight, uncertain nod. She bit into it, then again, her actions swift yet deliberate. Adam settled back onto the couch, continuing his watchful gaze upon the twins. Time drifted by in quietude, interrupted solely by the soft clink of Emma's spoon meeting the bowl. When she finally found her voice, it was a whisper, almost lost in the air. "My name's Emma," she said, as if gauging the response. "Meet Lily and Leo." Adam kept his gaze down, replying in a steady tone. "Adam." Increased quietude. He sensed her gaze upon him, her caution unwavering. Emma gave a slow, deliberate nod. "Thanks a lot. In support of assistance." "I didn't do it for gratitude," Adam stated. His tone was objective, not harsh, yet it caused her to wince just a bit. The silence enveloped the room once more, and Adam embraced it. He was determined to keep his curiosity at bay, at least for this evening. As he observed Emma stand from the table to tend to the twins, her gentle hands smoothing their blankets with meticulous attention, an unexpected ache stirred within him. Accountability. It was simply that, he concluded, nothing else. Yet, just as the atmosphere in the room started to relax, Lily jolted awake, a soft whimper slipping from her mouth. Emma stood still, her complexion draining of color. Adam was by her side, cradling the baby with a gentle yet swift motion. "She's burning up again," Emma whispered, her voice tinged with rising panic. "What seems to be the issue?" Adam's concentration deepened, his hands executing each movement with skillful accuracy. "Take a breath," he said, with a gentle yet resolute tone. "She will be all right." "Do you really think so?" Emma's voice trembled. "Absolutely." He averted his gaze from her, completely absorbed in Lily. "However, I require you to maintain your composure. Your panic is hindering my ability to work." Emma bit her lip, her head bobbing in quick agreement. She lingered nearby, her anxiety evident, yet she complied with his request. As Adam endeavored to bring Lily's fever under control, he sensed Emma's watchful eyes upon him, a mix of caution and optimism, akin to a person grasping the final limb of a tree amidst a tempest. He remained silent about it, for the time being. He was already burdened with his own challenges, and he didn't need the added pressure of her reliance. At this moment, his attention was drawn to the delicate existence cradled in his palms and the peculiar obligation that was tightening its hold on his heart. The gentle glow of morning filtered through the grand windows of the mansion, casting a warm light on the sharp angles of the living room. Adam lounged in the chair next to the couch, his shoulders tense, his face etched with exhaustion. Lily's fever had finally subsided a few hours ago, her small frame now lying serenely next to her twin. For the first time since Emma's arrival, the house exuded a profound stillness. Emma, sitting cross-legged on the floor nearby, had hardly shifted at all throughout the night. Her gaze remained fixed on the twins, as though diverting her eyes could somehow reverse Adam's attempts. She absently rubbed her arms, her lips forming a tight line. "You didn't sleep," Adam said, his voice raspy. It was not a question. She looked at him, her demeanor cautious yet beginning to warm. "You didn't either." Adam took his time before replying. He leaned in, resting his elbows on his knees, observing her intently. The weariness etched on her face was unmistakable, yet the resolve in her watchful eyes evoked memories of a person he had long since pushed from his mind. He mentioned that they are stable at the moment, but they will require proper care for some time. One cannot continue to flee in this manner. Emma tensed, her shoulders hunching inward. "I find myself without an option." "You do," Adam responded with conviction, though his voice was softer than usual, at least for the moment. You may remain here until they gain sufficient strength. After that, he allowed the thought to linger, unsure of its destination. She gave a slight nod, her gaze drifting back to the twins. Thank you, she murmured, barely above a whisper. Adam rose, each motion purposeful as he eased the tension from his body. You ought to have a bite, he remarked, motioning towards the kitchen. As she faltered, he remarked, you won't be able to help them if you fall apart. With a hint of hesitation, Emma got up and made her way to the kitchen. The sweater he had gifted her draped loosely around her figure, accentuating her petite stature. Adam observed her departure, his face a mask of inscrutability. While he was organizing the leftover medical supplies, a subtle clink drew his focus. He cast his gaze downward and noticed a faint glimmer on the floor close to where Emma had been seated. As he grasped it, the chill of the silver ring settled comfortably in his hand. The subtle engraving, despite its wear, was clearly discernible. Anticipation. A delicate, finely detailed four-leaf clover rested just below the name. Adam's breath hitched. His fingers tightened around the ring, and a flood of memories rushed in without warning. Hope's laughter echoed, her fingers grazing his as she slid the ring onto her hand, the way she had gazed at him on that fateful day she disappeared. Where did you obtain this? The words escaped his lips with an edge he hadn't meant, shattering the silence like a sudden clap of thunder. Emma stood motionless in the doorway, her fingers clutching the edge of the frame tightly. Excuse me? She inquired, her tone measured. Adam moved in, cradling the ring delicately between his thumb and forefinger. This. What is its origin? Her eyes flicked to the ring, and her demeanor changed. First, a haze of uncertainty, followed by a moment of clarity, and then an exploration of profound understanding. It belonged to my mother, she murmured gently. She always wore it. As she spoke, her voice wavered for a moment, yet she swiftly regained her composure. It was left for me by her. Stated it held significance. Adam gazed at her, the ring feeling unexpectedly weighty in his hand. He compelled his mind to concentrate, striving to avoid being overwhelmed by the tumult of questions surging through his thoughts. Your mother's name, he said, his voice strained. What could it have been? Emma paused, her brow knitting together in a display of confusion at his fervor. Hope, she expressed. Wishing you well, Ellis. The atmosphere around them felt suspended in time. Adam's hold on the ring grew firmer, his knuckles turning pale. It was impossible to dismiss as mere chance, the name, the inscription, everything felt meticulously crafted, strikingly intentional. Yet she had vanished. She had vanished for years. He had come to terms with it, or at least that was what he convinced himself of. What is the reason? Emma inquired, her voice slicing through the stillness. What makes it important to you? Adam gazed at her, his face a mask of mystery. It's nothing, he remarked, deftly sliding the ring into his pocket with a familiar ease. Have your breakfast. The rejection was abrupt, causing Emma to flinch, her gaze sharpening. However, she refrained from urging him. Instead, she pivoted back toward the kitchen, her footsteps uncertain. Once more in solitude, Adam let out a slow breath, the burden of the revelation bearing heavily upon him. Thoughts raced through his mind, yet one truth stood clear. This girl, this child standing in his home, must surely be linked to the woman he had cherished and lost. But in what way? With the dawn's light intensifying, Adam made a firm decision to seek the truth. For the moment, he went back to the twins, wrapping the blanket tightly around them. His fingers brushed lightly against their small hands for a fleeting moment, before he stood tall again. Who is it that you are, Emma? He whispered, his voice scarcely breaking the stillness of the room. The burden of history loomed large, and he understood that retreat was not an option. The day progressed at a languid pace, the mansion enveloped in a soft, tranquil silence. Adam sat at his desk, the weathered ring lying before him, a silent reminder of past choices. The laptop emitted a soft hum while he navigated the vast expanse of the internet, his fingers rhythmically dancing across the keys, exploring different combinations of names and dates. The name gazed back at him from multiple search results, yet none of the narratives aligned, until he delved further. There it lay, a modest obituary tucked away in a digital archive. The date was fresh, almost too fresh, his breath hitched as he glanced over the words. She is survived by her daughter, Emma Ellis, along with her 2 infant grandchildren, Lily and Leo. The harsh truth struck him with the force of a punch. Hope had lingered until just recently. She had brought Emma into the world, along with these twins. She had wandered off into the unknown, leaving him to navigate the solitude of his own company. Gentle footsteps broke the silence, pulling him from his swirling reverie. Adam swiftly shut the browser, his expression unreadable, while Emma cautiously drew near. She stood by the doorway, cradling a mug of tea in her hands. "Are they all right?" she inquired, gesturing toward the living room where the twins were peacefully resting. "They are stable," Adam responded with calm assurance. "It would be wise to take a seat." With a slight furrow of her brows, Emma acquiesced, settling into the chair across from his desk. She lifted the mug to her lips, her hands quivering just a bit. Adam observed her intently, seeking the perfect expression. "That ring," he started, his voice deliberately controlled. "You mentioned it belonged to your mother. Has she ever mentioned where she obtained it?" Emma gazed downward, her fingertips gliding along the rim of the mug. "No. She simply remarked that it was unique, evoking memories of someone dear to her." Adam felt a constriction in his chest. "What more did she share with you regarding her history?" Emma shifted restlessly, stealing a glance at him from beneath her lashes. "Not a great deal. She preferred to keep it to herself. She expressed that the pain was overwhelming. She spoke in hushed tones. She often felt a deep sense of sorrow." The fragility in her voice stirred something profound inside him, yet Adam maintained a composed demeanor. "What about your father?" The inquiry caused Emma to recoil. She placed the mug on the table and crossed her arms firmly over her chest, as though preparing for what was to come. "He simply lacked kindness. Not for her. Not for me." Adam's grip on the desk's edge grew firmer. The vision of hope, fragile, mistreated, and forsaken, burned into his consciousness. He set it aside for the moment, directing his attention toward Emma. "Have you really been managing everything by yourself all this time?" he inquired, his tone gentler at this moment. Emma gave a slight nod. "I found myself with no other option." She cast a look toward the living room, her demeanor shifting to one of resolve. "They are everything to me." The resolve in her voice resonated with him. It was more than mere desperation that propelled her forward. It was pure affection. Intense, unwavering affection for those 2 kids. It reflected a familiarity from his past, a piece of himself he believed was gone for good. Adam reclined in his chair, his eyes wandering to the bookshelf. Nestled between the medical journals and textbooks lay a small leather album, untouched for years. He stood, retrieving it from the shelf with a carefulness that piqued Emma's curiosity, drawing her gaze toward him. He opened the album, turning the pages with care until he discovered what he sought, a photograph, worn yet unmistakable, embodying hope. She lingered in the garden of their cherished home, her head angled just so, her smile glowing with the warmth of the sun. The ring, now resting in his pocket, sparkled on her finger. He set the photograph on the desk, nudging it gently toward Emma, silent in his gesture. Emma leaned forward, her brows furrowing in perplexity. With a tentative gesture, her hand extended, fingertips grazing the borders of the photograph. "That's," my mother whispered, her voice quivering with disbelief. She gazed up at Adam, her eyes filled with wonder. "How did you come by this?" Adam paused before responding. His throat was parched, and his heart raced in a manner that left him feeling uneasy. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a steady weight, laden with unexpressed feelings. He stated it plainly, I knew her. Once upon a time. Emma's bewilderment intensified. You knew her, she reverberated. But how is that possible? She didn't bring you up at all. Adam's jaw clenched. There are aspects of her history that remain hidden, memories she might prefer to forget. Emma reclined, grasping the photograph tightly as if it could vanish at any moment. What prompts you to share this with me at this moment? Adam paused, his thoughts swirling. How could he reveal the truth to her without breaking apart her already delicate reality? And yet, how could he remain silent when every shred of evidence highlighted the undeniable bond that existed between them? He started with a hint of hesitation, suggesting that there's a deeper narrative to your mother's past than you might understand, and he believed it was time for both of them to uncover the reality. The hearth's fire crackled gently, enveloping the room in a subtle embrace of warmth. Emma perched on the edge of the couch, her fingers wrapped firmly around a cup of tea that Adam had handed to her. The twins lay in slumber once more, their gentle breaths barely discernible beneath the heavy layers of blankets. The photograph Adam had presented to her lay on the coffee table, undisturbed since she had placed it there hours ago. You said you knew her, Emma finally murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Her gaze was fixed not on Adam, but on the flickering flames of the fire. Her fingers gripped the cup firmly. What is this? How was she as a person? Prior to all else, I mean. Adam, perched in the armchair opposite her, paused thoughtfully. He had devoted the last hour to unraveling how much to reveal to her, weighing whether this moment was right to disclose the complex feelings he had concealed for years. He ran a hand over his face, then crossed his arms. She was strong, Adam finally remarked, his tone steady yet far away. Hope possessed an uncanny ability to illuminate any space. She exhibited a strong will, as well. Once she decided on a course of action, there was no altering her resolve. Emma's lips quirked, a subtle hint of a smile dancing briefly on her face. She often remarked that I mirrored her in many ways. Adam acknowledged with a nod, yet chose not to expand further. The memories lingered, vivid and unrefined, even in this moment. He redirected the discussion toward Emma instead. What transpired following the arrival of the twins? Emma's smile disappeared. She gazed into her tea, her shoulders tightening with unspoken thoughts. She fell ill, she murmured gently. She found it challenging to look after them. I attempted to assist, but, my stepfather, only exacerbated the situation. Adam's demeanor shifted, a shadow crossing his face, yet he chose to hold his tongue, allowing her to proceed. He wasn't like that at first, Emma continued, her voice heavy with resentment. When they tied the knot, I hoped perhaps things would change. However, everything shifted once we settled in with him. He arrived home intoxicated, filled with anger, and directed it towards her, towards me. Her voice faltered, and she blinked quickly. Once the twins arrived, she found herself unable to resist any longer. She lacked the strength. Adam inclined his body forward just a touch, his hands poised on his knees. And after she had passed, he inquired with great care. Emma inhaled deeply, her breath trembling slightly. He claimed it was my fault, that if I hadn't been such a burden, she wouldn't have fallen ill, and when the twins cried, he'd shout at me to silence them, sometimes he would strike me. I tried to shield them, but, her voice faltered, and she tightened her hands into fists. I couldn't allow him to cause them any more pain. I had no choice but to leave. The atmosphere thickened with an oppressive quiet, as the gravity of her statements enveloped them. Adam's jaw clenched as a wave of fury surged inside him, directed not at Emma, but at the man who had caused so much suffering for her and her mother. The idea of Hope persevering through such pain, and now her daughter confronting a similar fate, was nearly unbearable. You did what you had to, Adam said quietly, his tone more resolute than before. You safeguarded them to the fullest extent of your ability. Emma gazed up at him, her eyes shimmering with unfallen tears. Yet, it fell short. They remain so tiny, and I find it challenging to look after them. If I hadn't found you, you found me for a reason, Adam interrupted, his voice unwavering. And you don't have to face this alone anymore. The words lingered in the air, unvoiced commitments woven with a weight Adam hadn't completely meant to convey. He noticed a flicker of vulnerability in Emma's otherwise guarded expression, hinting at a desire to trust him, yet uncertainty held her back. Adam cleared his throat and stood up from his chair, walking over to the desk in the corner of the room. As he progressed, his thoughts swirled with the significance of all that Emma had revealed. Her tale, while tragic, only intensified his doubts. The timeline and the circumstances, it all fit together too seamlessly with what he understood about Hope's life. In silence, Adam slid open a drawer and retrieved a compact DNA test kit. It was a measure he had implemented during his formative years in practice, a time when patients sometimes required swift responses. At this moment, it seemed to be the sole direction ahead. He made his way back to Emma, the kit cradled in his hands. Her eyes grew a touch wider as she gazed at it. "What's that?" she inquired. "Evidence," Adam replied succinctly. He settled back into his seat, his eyes unwavering. "I must find out the truth. About you. About them." Emma's brow knitted together, a battle of confusion and suspicion playing out on her face. "What are you referring to?" Adam paused, selecting his words with precision. "I believe, there was a bond between your mother and me, deeper than you understand. This test, it might prove it." Emma blinked, the significance of his words gradually sinking in. "Are you saying, you believe you understood her because of my influence? Is it due to our actions?" "I don't merely think," Adam stated, his tone steady yet resolute. "I require certainty." Emma looked at him, her face a canvas of trepidation and hesitant optimism. Following a lengthy silence, she gave a nod. "All right," she murmured, "if it leads to a deeper understanding of her." "And about you?" Adam breathed out, a subtle trace of relief softening the tightness in his chest. As he readied the test, his thoughts danced with echoes of hope, her laughter, her warmth, and the future they had envisioned together. Now the prospect of a bond with Emma and the twins ignited a spark of something he hadn't experienced in years, meaning. Yet, alongside that purpose arose a formidable question. What actions would he take if the findings validated his existing suspicions? What if they chose not to? For now, Adam set the thought aside, concentrating instead on the delicate hope that had started to blossom between them. The previously serene mansion, characterized by its immaculate arrangement and deliberate stillness, started to transform. Soft and tentative at first, laughter began to ripple through the corridors. The aroma of comforting dishes wafted through the space as Adam crafted uncomplicated meals, frequently catching Emma watching him, as if she were attempting to bridge the gap between the serious doctor and the man now slicing sandwiches into quarters for her younger siblings. An unspoken agreement lingered in the air, with neither party daring to bring up the test or the answers it held within. Instead, they moved in a peculiar, hesitant cadence, discovering comfort in the moments they spent together as they awaited the revelation of the truth. On the third morning, Adam found himself in the kitchen, gripping a wooden spoon as he stirred a bubbling pot of oatmeal. Lily and Leo were secured in the high chairs he had purchased just the day before, their little hands reaching out for the small chunks of banana he had set on their trays. Emma lingered close, her fingers anxiously toying with the edge of her sweater. "Sit," Adam instructed, his gaze elsewhere. His tone was soft, yet it allowed for no debate. Emma paused for a moment, then drew out a chair at the kitchen table. She observed Adam as he carefully measured the oatmeal into bowls, adding a touch of honey before setting one down in front of her. "You really don't need to go through all this," she said softly. "I am capable of handling them." Adam cast a fleeting look her way, his face a mask of inscrutability. "You've done more than enough," he responded. Now it's my moment. The clarity of his expression caused her heart to constrict. She nodded, her gaze fixed on the bowl, uncertain of how to reply. As the day progressed, the living room evolved into a vibrant play area. Adam settled onto the floor, legs crossed, his suit jacket left behind and sleeves pushed up. He was piecing together a wooden puzzle for Leo, who laughed heartily as Adam comically struggled to fit the mismatched pieces together. "That doesn't go there," Emma remarked from the couch, a rare smile playing at her lips. Adam arched an eyebrow, pretending to be offended. "Are you doubting my knowledge?" Emma gave a slight shrug. "I'm simply pointing out that even I can see that piece is oriented incorrectly." With a theatrical gesture, he turned the piece over, prompting another burst of laughter from Leo. The melody was captivating, pulling Lily closer as she made her way toward her brother. Emma gracefully descended from the couch to join them, her demeanor more at ease than Adam had observed since her arrival. For an instant, the room seemed complete. It wasn't flawless, there were fissures in the structure of their existence that demanded attention, yet it radiated warmth, and for Adam, that sufficed. That evening, while the twins slumbered upstairs, Adam discovered Emma in the library. She sat nestled in a chair, a book he had suggested resting in her lap. The gentle glow from the lamp accentuated the shadows beneath her eyes, a clear indication of the fatigue she continued to bear. "Are you fond of it?" he inquired, resting against the doorframe. Emma glanced upward, taken aback, then gave a slight nod. "It's unique, yet enjoyable." Adam entered the room and settled into the chair across from her. For a moment, silence enveloped them both. The silence that enveloped them seemed not to be a void, but rather a deep, unarticulated connection. "What motivates you to engage in all of this?" Emma interjected abruptly, shattering the stillness. "You can't even be sure if there's a genuine connection between us." Adam's eyes held a firm intensity, his tone measured and soft. "It's irrelevant whether we are or not. Assistance was required. That will suffice." Emma felt a constriction in her throat and swiftly averted her gaze. "Most individuals wouldn't offer assistance, I mean. I'm not like everyone else," Adam stated plainly. When the DNA results finally came in, the delicate connection they shared had deepened significantly. Adam caught himself spending more time in the kitchen than he needed to, inventing reasons to peek in on the twins, despite Emma being more than capable of handling things on her own. Emma, in turn, had started to reveal more about herself, sharing little glimpses of her childhood, her passion for literature, the way her mother would hum lullabies, and even the occasion when she attempted to bake cookies but overlooked the sugar. The DNA results came in silently. A crisp envelope was slid beneath Adam's office door by the courier. He cradled it in his hands longer than he planned, his fingers gliding along the edges, hesitant to unveil its contents just yet. The residence was enveloped in stillness. Emma and the twins were settled upstairs, their presence a delicate cadence that started to fill the void of the mansion. At last, Adam settled at his desk and carefully opened the letter. His breath hitched as he absorbed the words on the page. Emma was his beloved daughter. It was beyond doubt. The twins, while not his biological grandchildren, embodied a piece of Hope's legacy, a fragment of her that had endured. Adam reclined, the paper cascading from his grasp onto the desk. Relief, guilt, and anger swirled within him, a tempest of feelings poised to shatter his meticulously upheld composure. Hope had borne his child, endured suffering and mistreatment, and had been torn from him by unseen forces. His thoughts surged back to the letters and medical files he had discovered the previous night, tucked away in an old box among his mother's possessions. Prescriptions for sedatives, bearing the signatures of doctors long since retired, with dates that chillingly coincide with Hope's disappearance. A letter penned in his mother's precise script, devoid of warmth, orchestrating Hope's transfer to a far-off town. Adam found himself going over the documents once more, the reality revealing itself in a chilling manner. It was his mother. Everything had been meticulously arranged by his own mother, who had drugged hope, compelled her to depart, and made certain that Adam was convinced she had forsaken him. The betrayal struck him like a thunderbolt, leaving him reeling. Adam tightened his fists, his thoughts racing back to his mother's piercing stare, her words laced with a subtle cunning, masked as concern. She had presented it as affection, her consuming desire to dominate his existence and memory. Yet, it lacked the essence of love. It was an act of sheer brutality. The piercing wail of an infant brought him back to reality. He stood up without thinking, leaving the document strewn across the desk as he ascended the stairs to the nursery. Within the room, Emma cradled Leo, her voice gentle as she endeavored to calm him. Her weary gaze connected with Adam's for a fleeting moment, seeking comfort. "He's simply hungry," she remarked, her tone softer now that Leo had found his calm. Adam nodded, gently arranging the blanket over Lily. The sight of the two small children stirred within him a peculiar blend of sadness and resolve. Though not connected by blood, they belonged to hope. That rendered them his duty, his kin, in every sense that counted. "Emma," he began after a pause, his voice barely above a whisper, "there's something I must share with you." She gazed at him, her demeanor cautious yet receptive. She had begun to open up to him in subtle ways, sharing anecdotes, seeking assistance with the twins, yet the burden of what he was on the verge of disclosing threatened to break the delicate bond they had formed. He paused for a moment, then lowered himself onto the edge of the bed. He began, meeting her gaze steadily, "I ran the test. You are my daughter." The phrases lingered, thick and inescapable. Emma stood still, her arms wrapping securely around Leo. "Excuse me," she murmured, her voice a mere breath. "I had no idea," Adam said, his voice trembling. "During the time your mother and I were together, I was unaware of her pregnancy." She stayed, not out of desire. "My mother," his voice cracked, the fury and sorrow rushing forth. "My mother pushed her away from me." Emma's expression transformed, revealing a blend of shock, disbelief, and a profound undercurrent of grief. Emma's hands shook as she gripped the edges of the couch, her knuckles paling to a ghostly white. The room whirled around her, her father's and Adam's voices reverberating in her thoughts. She shook her head, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what he had just disclosed. "You're lying," she whispered, her voice a mere breath yet thick with fury. She gazed at Adam, her face marked by tears and contorted in shock. "This cannot possibly be real." Adam leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, his voice calm yet laden with feeling. "I assure you, Emma, I'm being truthful. I would not. I've got the evidence, the DNA test, the ring, the photograph, everything fits perfectly together. I was unaware of this until now. I promise you, I didn't." Her laughter rang out, sharp and hollow, carrying a bitter undertone. "What does it matter? Are you claiming to be my father? So, after all this time, you decide to make an appearance?" She rose suddenly, moving restlessly around the room, her actions unpredictable. "Where have you been? Where were you when my mother needed you? When I required your presence?" Adam felt a constriction in his chest at her words, the unfiltered anguish in her voice piercing deeper than he had anticipated. He remained still, not advancing, his hands dangling loosely at his sides, as though uncertain of their purpose. He spoke softly, revealing his uncertainty. "I was unaware of you, the twins, or the circumstances surrounding your mother. If I had," his voice faltered, and he breathed out sharply, fighting to regain his composure. "Had I been aware, I would have certainly attended." Emma pivoted to confront him, her gaze aflame with fury and sorrow. "You ought to have been aware. How is it possible that you don't know? My mother raised me by herself, battled for me on her own, while you, just continued with your life as if she were invisible." Adam stepped closer, his voice gentle yet resolute. "She has always lingered in my thoughts, Emma, always. Your mother was taken away from me. My own mother," he paused, his jaw clenching. Expressing those words remained a challenge, even at this moment. She meticulously arranged every detail, ensuring that hope vanished, and I fell for her deceptions. I believed she was gone to me for good. Emma's breath caught at his revelation, her face transforming from anger to a more delicate state, filled with confusion, pain, and disbelief. "You're placing all the blame on your mother for everything," she inquired, her voice tinged with doubt yet softening. "Indeed," Adam declared, his tone unwavering. "The evidence has been uncovered, Emma. The correspondence, the prescriptions, all of it. My mother, she controlled everything. She stripped away hope, convinced that we were not meant to be. And now I must carry that burden." Emma gazed at him, her breath quickening as she struggled to comprehend his words. The stillness enveloped them, interrupted solely by the gentle coos of one of the twins awakening in the bassinet. Her fury started to fade, giving way to the heavy burden of reality. "What is the reason for this moment?" she inquired, her voice quivering. "What makes you bring this up at this moment?" Adam's shoulders drooped, and in that moment, he finally let his fragility be seen. "I must share the truth with you. It is essential for you to understand your identity and your origins. And I desire to be present for you. In honor of the twins. To the family I never realized existed." Emma's eyes brimmed with tears once more, her barriers crumbling beneath the force of his genuine emotion. She collapsed onto the couch, her hands shielding her face as waves of sobs shook her frame. Adam paused briefly, then knelt before her, his hand gently placed on her shoulder. "I understand that the past is unchangeable," he murmured gently. "However, I can assure you of this. I have arrived. And I'm here to stay. You no longer need to face this journey by yourself." Emma let her hands drop, her face marked by tears, a complex blend of anger, sorrow, and a flicker of hope shining through. "What makes it possible for me to place my trust in you?" she murmured softly. "After all that has happened, how can I be certain you won't walk away as well?" Adam's eyes locked onto hers, firm and resolute. "Once, I found myself devoid of hope. I will not let you slip away, I assure you, Emma. I am committed to demonstrating that to you, no matter the effort required." The authenticity in his voice was unmistakable, and for the first time, Emma remained close. She nodded slowly, her expression still shrouded in caution. "I'm not sure I can find it in myself to forgive you," she confessed. "Not at this moment," Adam replied with a nod. "I don't anticipate that you will. Feel free to take all the time you require. I have no intention of leaving." The delicate instant of intimacy was shattered by a gentle whimper from the bassinet. Emma pivoted, swiftly lifting Lily and holding her close against her heart. As she cradled the baby, her voice took on a gentler tone when she spoke once more. "There's something more," she remarked, her voice wavering. "My stepdad. He poses a threat. He could be searching for us." Adam's jaw clenched, a surge of fierce protectiveness coursing through him. "He assured you with conviction that he wouldn't lay a finger on you or the twins. I will ensure that happens." Emma gazed at him, her eyes probing his features for any hint of uncertainty. Finding none, she nodded once more, her hold on Lily becoming firmer, as if in search of comfort. After a long time, Adam experienced a spark of direction. The journey before him stretched endlessly, filled with trials and tribulations, yet he stood prepared to confront it all, for Emma, for the twins, and for the enduring spirit of hope that resided within them all. The knock at the door resonated with urgency, a stark contrast to the timid rapping that had lured Emma to his threshold weeks prior. Adam halted abruptly, his form tensing in place. The twins lay peacefully in slumber in the living room, while Emma, perched beside them, glanced up at him, her complexion draining of color. "Stay here," Adam said, his voice steady and resolute. He walked confidently to the door, his heart racing with anticipation. The primal drive to shield surged within him, intense and unwavering. As he swung the door wide, the figure on the porch was precisely the one Adam dreaded most. He had a sturdy frame and a disheveled appearance, his coat stained, his face tinged with color from the chill, or maybe from frustration. His gaze swept across the entryway, finally settling on Adam with a disdainful sneer. "You must be Adam," the man said, his voice rough, tinged with scorn. "Where is Emma?" Adam moved ahead, positioning himself in front of the entrance. "She's safe," he stated with a steady tone, his voice composed yet laced with a hint of caution. "And she will be here for a while." The man sneered, drawing nearer as his breath escaped in chilly wisps. "That's amusing. She falls under my care. This is my domain, and I set the standards. She is mine." Adam's fingers clutched the doorframe, his knuckles pale and tense. "Emma does not belong to you. She won't be accompanying you anywhere." The man's expression shifted ominously as he advanced, compelling Adam to steady himself. "Listen here, Doc," he growled, "you have no idea who we are. She is my stepdaughter, and those children," he pointed a finger past Adam. "They are exhausting. She will return to the place that feels like home." A subtle noise drew Adam's focus from behind. He cast a quick look behind him and spotted Emma at the hallway's edge, with Lily perched on her hip. Her complexion was ashen, her gaze filled with terror. "Emma," Adam murmured gently, striving to maintain his composure. "Bring the twins upstairs." Her eyes flicked toward the figure standing in the doorway. "No," she said, her voice quivering yet steadfast. "He will persist without pause." The man grinned, extending his arms wide. "She's quite clever, wouldn't you agree?" Adam faced him again, his jaw clenched in tension. "You're intruding," he stated with a chill in his voice. "Depart immediately, or I will have to notify the proper authorities." The man chuckled, the noise harsh and jarring. "So, what will you say to them? That I'm here for my family? Wishing you all the best with that endeavor." Adam advanced, compelling the man to back away just a bit. "Emma has shared all the details with me," he said, his voice a hushed whisper filled with menace. "Concerning the mistreatment, regarding the intimidation. If you believe you can stroll in here and frighten her once more, you're wrong." The man's confident grin wavered, giving way to a brief glimpse of doubt. "Your understanding seems to be lacking." "Oh, I do," Adam replied, his voice sharp, "and I have no doubt the authorities will be quite eager to hear about it." For a brief instant, the man appeared to hesitate, his confidence slipping away. But then he growled, pushing Adam's shoulder with a surge of irritation. Adam remained still, his long-standing determination and wisdom anchoring him in place. "That's assault," Adam stated matter-of-factly, retrieving his phone from his pocket. "Depart at once, or I will ensure you come to regret your decision." The man stood still, his gaze shifting anxiously to Emma. "You really shouldn't go down this path, kid," he cautioned, his tone laced with malice. "Do you really believe he will safeguard you for all time? You'll find your way back." Emma remained steadfast, her hold on Lily growing firmer. "I won't go back," she declared, her voice quivering yet resolute. "Never." The man's expression contorted with rage, yet before he could utter a word, the wail of sirens sliced through the atmosphere. Adam took a step back, his hand lingering on the door, as two police officers arrived in the driveway. "I called them before I answered the door," Adam said, his voice unwavering. "This comes to a close now." The man shot a fierce look at him, then turned to Emma, his face a tumultuous blend of anger and resignation. The officers advanced swiftly, their mere presence compelling him to retreat. Following a short conversation, he found himself handcuffed and escorted to the patrol car, his objections resonating in the chilly atmosphere. Adam shut the door, and the stillness within the house was nearly overwhelming. Emma lingered in the hallway, her shoulders quaking as tears cascaded down her cheeks. Adam moved toward her with care, his touch tender as he lifted Lily from her embrace and placed the baby back in the bassinet. "It's over," he murmured, his hands gently placed on her shoulders. "He can no longer cause you pain." Emma sank into him, her cries stifled against his chest. Adam embraced her, his hold unwavering and strong, while she released the anxiety and strain that had accumulated over the past weeks. For the first time, he sensed her trust in the way she leaned against him, no longer poised to flee. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice a soft whisper, "for everything." Adam gripped tighter, his throat constricted with feeling. "You're safe now," he assured, "you and the twins. I won't allow anyone to harm you again." As the night deepened, the house fell silent again, yet this stillness carried a distinct quality. The stillness wasn't a suffocating weight of dread or isolation, it marked the dawn of a fresh chapter. A feeling of security, of belonging, and for the first time, Emma truly embraced it. The morning radiated an extraordinary brightness, with sunlight pouring through the frost-kissed windows of the mansion. Adam perched at the dining table, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the smooth surface, the legal documents laid out in front of him. The gravity of the choice before him bore down on his chest, yet it wasn't doubt that seized him, it was the vastness of what awaited him. Emma stepped into the room with care, Lily nestled against her hip, while Leo wobbled alongside her. She possessed an intriguing blend of resolve and uncertainty, as if she were perpetually preparing for the earth to crumble beneath her feet. "You're up early," she remarked, her tone gentle yet tinged with intrigue. Adam motioned to the chair positioned opposite him. "Please take a seat, there's something we need to discuss." Emma paused for a moment, adjusting Lily in her embrace before finally sinking into the chair. Leo, sensing the gravity of the moment, climbed onto her lap and placed his tiny hands against her chest. Adam slid the papers across the table, his jaw clenching as he observed her face transform from puzzlement to shock. "What is happening? What is this all about?" Emma inquired, her fingers quivering as they lingered above the papers. "Adoption papers," Adam stated, his tone unwavering. "I have consulted with an attorney. Once these are submitted, you and the twins will officially be acknowledged as my family." Emma gazed at him, her eyes filled with astonishment. "Are you suggesting? Are you really going to adopt us?" Adam gave a slight nod. "This is the sole method to guarantee your protection, as well as theirs. No one has the legal right to separate us. Not your guardian. No one at all." Emma felt a surge of emotion, her eyes glistening momentarily before she swiftly composed herself. "I do not. I find myself at a loss for words." "There's no need for words," Adam responded. "This goes beyond mere notions of right and wrong. This is my desire. For far too long, I've been persuading myself that a family wasn't necessary. I acknowledge my mistake." Emma gazed at the twins, her lips quivering slightly. "Do you really believe this is the right choice? Challenging every one of us? It can be quite challenging." Adam's voice took on a gentler tone. "Emma, I have never felt more certain about anything than I do right now. You and these two," he gestured toward the twins, "are everything that truly matters to me now." The following days unfolded in a flurry of discussions, endorsements, and complex legal terminology. Adam labored diligently to accelerate the process, his standing and assets slicing through the typical bureaucratic obstacles. Every step was accompanied by a blend of comfort and anxiety. At the courthouse, Emma sat next to him, her hands firmly clasped in her lap. The twins spent the day in the care of someone they trusted, allowing the two of them to confront the proceedings on their own. Adam's eyes flicked to Emma, observing the way her teeth grazed her lip in a moment of anxiety. "You're doing fine," he said softly, his tone intended to comfort. Emma nodded, her eyes avoiding his. "It's merely. It feels surreal, as if at any moment someone will walk in and declare that it's all just an illusion." Adam extended his hand, gently resting it on hers for support. "No one can strip this from us, I assure you." As the judge meticulously examined the documents and affirmed the adoption's validity, Emma exhaled a trembling breath, her eyes shimmering with tears she chose not to conceal. Adam sensed a soothing shift within his chest, a liberation of the tension he hadn't known he was carrying. "It's official," he stated, his tone soft yet resolute. "We are a close-knit unit." Emma turned to him, her face lighting up with a smile so bright it seemed to wash away the years of struggle marked on her features. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice heavy with feeling, "for everything." Returning to the mansion, Adam cradled Lily in his arms, as Emma assisted Leo in his slow, waddling journey toward the living room. The adoption certificate rested elegantly on the mantel, a quiet reminder of the day's significance. That evening, as the twins drifted off in their shared crib, Emma lingered at the doorway of their room, observing them with a blend of affection and wonder. Adam joined her, his presence a subtle yet comforting shadow. "How serene they appear," Emma whispered. "They are," Adam remarked, "for they understand their safety, and so do you." Emma faced him, her eyes glistening with fresh tears. "No one has ever stood up for me in this way before." Adam rested his hand on her shoulder, his touch both steady and tender. "You're deserving of every battle, Emma, all three of you." As the stars began to shimmer outside, Adam understood that this was more than a mere legal obligation, it was a second chance, an opportunity to reconstruct everything he believed he had lost. United, they would confront whatever lay ahead, not as mere acquaintances, but as a family forged by love, strength, and the unwavering hope for a brighter tomorrow. The initial snowfall of the season enveloped the mansion in a delicate, shimmering white, silencing the world outside its boundaries. Within the cozy confines, the fireplace crackled softly in the living room, its golden glow illuminating the serene tableau of a family united in tranquility. Emma perched comfortably on the soft rug, flanked by Lily and Leo. The twins erupted in joyous squeals, their excitement palpable as they tore into the vibrantly wrapped gifts that Adam had thoughtfully selected for them. Their laughter echoed through the room, a sweet symphony of purity that breathed life into the space, awakening it from a long slumber. Adam observed from the armchair, cradling a mug of steaming cocoa in his hand. His lips curled slightly, a subtle smile forming as he took in the wild exuberance surrounding him. After years of being enveloped in silence, he found that it was now filled with a soothing hum of life. It was chaotic, uncertain, and utterly flawless. "Adam," Emma called, her voice breaking through his reverie. She lifted a wooden puzzle piece, a mischievous smile dancing on her lips. "You're the expert on these, aren't you? Would you be willing to lend a hand?" Adam placed his mug on the table, shaking his head in feigned annoyance. "If I remember correctly, you were the one critiquing my skills last time." Emma laughed, a sound so free and genuine it even surprised her. "Well, now's your opportunity to redeem yourself." He knelt beside her, taking the piece and examining it with exaggerated seriousness. Lily nestled into his lap, chattering joyfully, as Leo clapped his small hands, captivated by the moment. With deft precision, Adam maneuvered the piece into position, eliciting a jubilant cheer from Emma. "See," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "Not bad for an old man." Emma rolled her eyes, yet a smile crept onto her face. "All right. You take this one." The atmosphere settled into a soothing stillness, punctuated only by the gentle crackle of the fire and the soft laughter of the twins at play. Adam reclined against the couch, with Lily nestled in his lap, her delicate fingers clutching his thumb, her grip unexpectedly firm for such a little one. "You're quite skilled at this," Emma remarked unexpectedly, her tone gentle. She looked at him, her face reflecting a mix of appreciation and thankfulness. Being a dad. Adam felt a weight in his chest, but it was no longer from fear or doubt. "I never imagined I'd get this opportunity," he confessed, his tone softer than normal. "Not after all that's happened." "But you have it now," Emma asserted with conviction. "And you're already doing more than you realize." Her words enveloped him like a soothing embrace, alleviating the doubts that had haunted him. He gazed at her, recognizing not merely the tenacious girl who had unexpectedly entered his world, but a powerful, resolute young woman who had battled fiercely for her family with all her might. Thank you, Adam said, his voice unwavering. For trusting me. Emma blinked, taken aback by the earnestness in his tone. Thank you, she replied, her voice quivering just a bit, for providing us with a home. Later that evening, once the twins were settled in their beds, Adam and Emma found themselves by the fire, savoring the stillness together. Emma cradled her mug of tea, her legs tucked beneath her, as Adam gazed into the flickering flames, deep in contemplation. Have you ever thought about her? Emma inquired, shattering the stillness. Adam turned to her, his brows knitting together slightly. Hope. Emma nodded, her gaze unwavering. Constantly, he confessed. But it has changed now. For an eternity, I pondered what had slipped away, what remained beyond my grasp. He hesitated, the dancing flames illuminating the contours of his features. But now, I reflect on the gift she bestowed upon me. You. Emma swallowed hard, her throat constricting with feeling. She extended her hand, gently resting it on his arm. She'd be proud of you, of what you've done for us. Adam's expression softened as he gently placed his hand over hers. She'd be proud of you, too, more than you realize. In that moment, silence enveloped them both. The fire crackled gently, its comforting glow enveloping the space, while snowflakes danced down from the sky beyond the window. Emma lingered by the window, gazing at the garden blanketed in frost. Adam approached her, his hands casually tucked into his pockets. It's stunning, she remarked, her breath misting the window. It is, Adam concurred, though his attention was not on the snow, but rather on the family they had formed. In the background, the space was alive with echoes of the day, gifts partially unwrapped, Lily's blanket casually thrown over the couch, and the adoption certificate elegantly framed and prominently showcased on the mantel. It was a dwelling, embodying not only physical form but also a sense of belonging. Emma glanced at Adam, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Thank you, for everything. Adam smiled, a sincere warmth illuminating his features. You don't need to thank me. This is where you belong. For Adam, Emma, Lily, and Leo, this winter signified not merely the conclusion of a year, but the dawn of a new chapter, one brimming with hope, healing, and the steadfast connection of family. For the first time in ages, the warmth in Adam's heart matched the flickering glow of the fire beside them.